Now, we've all heard about Toyota's famous build quality and reliability standards here in India, but the vehicle next to me is something that takes that notion and dials it up by a factor of 10. In its 55 years of production, it's gone through some of the most treacherous terrains in the world, serving as a lifeline through sub-Saharan Africa and war-torn countries. And now, in its 8th generation, it's finally arrived in India. I am, of course, talking about the Toyota Hilux pickup truck. The Toyota Hilux's reputation for invincibility has long preceded its arrival in India. The 8th generation model comes with a long-standing legacy of unparalleled resilience in the face of harsh terrains, natural calamities, and the occasional war zone. Part myth, part cult hero, the Hilux faces high expectations. In profile, the Hilux has gotten a lot busier looking than its previous iterations, much like most modern Toyotas. There's a clear resemblance with the Fortuner here, of course, but the chrome-plated hexagon bordering the grille, along with the silver highlights under the front bumper, help distinguish its fairly imposing form. It's based on the same platform as the Fortuner, but it is ultimately 5.3 meters and so takes up considerable real estate on and off the road. It's also a bit of a climb getting into this thing, so calling it a Hilux wouldn't be too far off the mark. While there is a certain novelty to driving a vehicle like the Hilux, in many ways it feels similar to the Fortuner, with which it shares its chassis and engine. You get the same 2.8 litre turbo diesel making about 204 horsepower and 500 newton meters of torque. It's the same slightly agricultural diesel, so of course it has this gruff engine note to it, but Fortuner's many admirers have come to grow quite fond of this extremely rugged powertrain. It also manages to brake exceptionally well, instilling plenty of confidence once you get past its additional 330mm over the Fortuner's 2745mm wheelbase. Still, for an old-school ladder-frame leaf-sprung truck, the Hilux feels relatively easy to maneuver. I know that's a bit like saying for a heavy-lift military helicopter, the Chinook feels relatively nimble, but the Hilux's proportions seem to be manageable on-road, provided you're not daft enough to chuck it into a corner at high speeds. This engine is a proven workhorse, and here it helps carry the Hilux's load capacity to half a ton. The top-end trim comes with an automatic gearbox, which can be slotted into manual for greater control, but that's more useful in proper off-roading scenarios involving steep descents. But not everything is hunky-dory, because the leaf spring suspension and the long wheelbase do come at a price. I should point out though, that if you're on bumpy surfaces, and that's 80% of the roads we have, the ride can be a little bouncy because of an empty cargo bay. Now you put about 200 kilograms out at the back and the ride becomes a lot more planted. Presumably, if you've come out to terrain like this, you're going to be packing heavy, in which case it shouldn't be a problem. But in case you aren't and you've just decided to just head out for a drive or something, you might find a better ride in the likes of the Fortuner. There's also the matter regarding its interiors, which aren't what you'd call state-of-the-art. It's a purely functional space that's been given a once-over for the sake of the times we're living in, but it doesn't quite succeed. All the necessary buttons and knobs and dials are there, including ones to engage the rear diff lock. There's dual zone climate control, a wireless charging dock as an optional extra, and a power and eco button among other things. 4 low comes as standard, but everything here does feel a bit mid-2000s, especially the automatic gear lever. Thankfully, creature comforts aren't central to the Hilux's appeal, so its target customer might be willing to overlook the hard plastics and the rudimentary nature of its dashboard design. With plenty of storage spaces, including 2 glove boxes and a smartphone-compatible 8-inch touchscreen, it's a fairly practical place to carry out your terrain-conquering expeditions from. It also comes with a laundry list of accessories, from a hardtop cargo bed canopy to a detachable roof-mounted tent setup. Jerry cans, heavy off-road tires, floodlights and the like are also easily acquired for the dedicated off-roader. But it's really off the beaten trail where the Hilux truly shines. Its off-roading tech is a mix of old-school gristle coupled with some new-age tech like hill descent control and electronic stability control, even an electronic rear limited slip differential. The diff on the front axle remains fixed, but the lockable differential at the rear, coupled with low-range 4-wheel drive, gives the Hilux the ability to head into any horizon without hesitation or fear. A simple flick of a dial while in neutral allows you to engage 4-wheel drive in low range while allowing you to switch back to high range both in 4 and rear wheel drive on the go. A decisive mechanical clicking sound aligns all the necessary cogs, following which the Hilux transforms into a very different species of car, unimpeded by pretty much anything thrown at it. This claim, of course, was put to a proper off-roading test with a course set up on a mostly dried up riverbed at the foothills of Rishikesh, which happened to be the venue of the drive. The first order of business was a shallow river crossing, giving me the opportunity to test just how instantaneous the torque delivery under full throttle is, resulting in the Hilux creating a wall of splashed water on either side before having its water wading capacity of 700mm tested. Needless to say, with a 220mm wheelbase, the Hilux emerged unscathed with the simple touch of a button and a twist of a dial, bringing it back into high gear. Even without a snorkel, the Hilux takes to tire-deep waters like something out of a survivalist fantasy. Its 29-degree entry angle also allows it to take on side inclines very easily. Seldom are you so confident of your own safety whilst operating a vehicle with your wrist practically parallel to the ground. But careful wheel articulation allows you to tackle steep side inclines with ease. In low range, the Hilux climbs up steep inclines like a cricket. Despite traction control being active, you're never at a risk of facing a torque deficit while gunning your way up towards a sharp crest. And even if the terrain ahead of the crest happens to be of the gravelly and momentum-killing variety, the Hilux scuttles ahead easily without any concern of getting beached. Descending steep drops is equally and disconcertingly easy with hill descent activated with the touch of a button, and a domineering view from the main deck allowing you to carefully dismount the most acute drops. Yes, navigating sharp-edged terrain on these tires does make operating the steering a proper upper body workout, but it's a testosterone fuel level of engagement with the machine that most luxury off-roaders won't be able to give you. As hardy as the Hilux is, it expects a certain amount of hardiness from you too. So, who is the Toyota Hilux really for? The Hilux's appeal, apart from of course just how butch and domineering it is, and just how massive and capable it is, just comes down to the fact that you enjoy true off-roading and you really do want to utilize everything that it offers, and you really do want to explore that outdoor camping lifestyle. It's also great if you have a place a little further away from the city and you want to bring home supplies. If you have a hobby that involves carrying large amounts of just raw material, if you're into carpentry or something, straight off the top of my head, then again the appeal of this vehicle is enhanced. If you're into cycling, if you're into adventure cycling, even if you have like a motocross motorcycle, the possibilities with a pickup truck are endless. And when it's a pickup truck that can literally just go anywhere the possibilities is just limitless. That is the appeal of this car, and that's why its buyers will go for it. Now, I don't have any particular great desire to lug cargo from place to place. In fact, there are significantly cheaper options if that really is your objective. With the Hilux, it's a little different. It's expensive, it's completely adventure oriented, and the idea with this pickup is not so much about lugging large amounts of things, but it's more oriented towards those who want to go camping, those who are into adventure sports, those who are really exploring the outdoors and really want to maximize their experience out here as much as possible. Of course, you do get accessories. You can get more refined powertrains. You can get more luxurious soft roaders in this price range, of course. But what you can't get is the go anywhere as the crow flies ability of the Toyota Hilux, which honestly remains unmatched. And there is another element to a vehicle like this. It's not just about the reliability of the powertrain and of the 4x4 system. It's also how it allows you to engage with it. You really feel like you're a strong part of the off-roading process, and that comes with Toyota reliability, and that I feel is central to the Hilux's appeal for hardcore off-roaders, for adventure enthusiasts, for people who don't just want to go to a fancy hotel room and stay there. They really want to explore and make the outdoors their home. That's where a car like this comes in, and having driven it in pretty much every kind of terrain and at varying angles through some really, really treacherous and terrifying spots, all I can say is that at the end of the day, I want one.